What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel Demita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Here we are again with more WNBA CBA updates. Who's ready for some more drama? Raise your hand. Anyway, I did not think that I would be filming another WNBA CBA update video for you guys, and it's not my favorite topic to cover, but I do want to keep you guys informed, and there was some new information that came out just today from Annie Costable. Shout out to Annie Costable. She has been on top of all of this, and I feel like she has been breaking some major news when it comes to the WNBA's new CBA that they're still trying to work out. Now, in yesterday's
What's up, everyone? I'm Rachel Demita, and welcome back to the Courtside Club. I honestly didn't think I'd be sitting here making another update about the WNBA CBA negotiations, but here we are again. It's not the easiest topic to cover, and it's definitely not the most exciting one, but I want you to stay informed because things are getting wild. And when I say wild, I mean the kind of drama that makes you stop, rewind, and ask, wait, they really did that? Earlier today, reporter Annie Costable dropped another major update. If you've been following all of this chaos, you already know she's been the main person breaking every important detail about these negotiations. Every time new information comes out, she is the first to report it, and the news she released today has everyone talking again. But before we get into that new update, let's talk about something that happened just yesterday. The WNBA made a decision so short-sighted and unbelievable that fans and players are still trying to figure out how it even made it into the proposal. Right in the middle of these high-stakes contract negotiations, where the league keeps promising huge salary increases and record-breaking deals, they suddenly decided to remove one of the most essential benefits the players have relied on for years. That benefit is team-provided housing. For years, players have had guaranteed in-season housing provided by their teams. It's not a luxury, it's a basic necessity that allowed players to focus on basketball without worrying about finding a place to live during the crazy demands of the season. Removing this benefit wasn't just unexpected. It felt like someone pulled the floor out from under the players at the worst possible time. Fans were stunned. Players were even more stunned. And honestly, anyone who has been following the WNBA closely was left wondering, who is making these decisions and why? Here's the thing. These negotiations were supposed to be groundbreaking. The league is talking about new money, bigger salaries, long-term growth, and a new era for women's basketball. They extended the negotiation deadline again. Now January 9th is the new target, and everyone thought the next updates would be positive. Instead, we got a proposal that feels like a complete contradiction. On one hand, the WNBA is offering a massive new salary structure. The league is proposing a 7-figure maximum base salary. Some players could earn up to $1.2 million when revenue sharing is included. Multiple players on each roster might hit that mark by 2026. The minimum salary is expected to jump to around $225,000. Which is the amount that used to be close to the league's maximum just last season. On paper, that sounds incredible. It sounds like the league has finally decided to value its athletes the way they deserve. This should be a reason to celebrate, but instead, it feels confusing, almost like there's a catch. Because there is one. Right when the league announced these huge salary numbers, they also removed a basic support system that has existed for almost a decade. And it's not just a random detail. Housing has been one of the most important benefits for players, especially for rookies and younger athletes on the lower end of the pay scale. So instead of hearing, the WNBA is taking a big step forward, the conversation instantly shifted to, why would they raise salaries but take away something so essential? That's why this move has caused such an explosion of criticism. It feels like a step forward followed immediately by 2 steps backward. Many players feel like the pay raise is just a distraction, a shiny number being used to cover up decisions that make their lives harder. If the league truly wanted to support its athletes, these changes wouldn't feel so conflicting. They wouldn't feel rushed, confusing, or poorly thought out. Instead, they'd feel like real progress. But right now, the entire situation seems messy and out of touch, as if the people making the decisions are not listening to the athletes who live through these realities every single day. And remember, this is only the beginning. The housing removal is just one piece of the tension building around these negotiations. There is still more drama ahead, more decisions that don't make sense, and more confusion over why the league seems to be working against its own players during one of the most important negotiation periods in WNBA history. Now let's dig deeper into the heart of the conflict. The WNBA isn't just offering bigger salaries. They're offering numbers that sound unbelievable compared to anything we've seen before in the league. Just last season, the highest salary a player could earn was around $249,000. That was the supermax, the absolute top. Now, under the league's new proposal, $225,000 becomes the minimum salary. That's a huge jump. On top of that, the average salary is expected to rise above $500,000, and the supermax could hit $1 million, possibly even $2 million with revenue sharing included. These numbers sound like a dream come true, right? Well, not exactly. Because hidden behind those impressive salary figures are decisions that completely erase the trust players have in the league. The biggest one, of course, is the removal of team housing. For players, especially rookies or those not earning superstar money, having guaranteed housing isn't just a convenience, it's a safety net. It's stability. It's the difference between stress and peace of mind during the season. And the league didn't just tweak the system or reduce the support. They removed it entirely from the proposal. Players who are just entering the WNBA, or those who sign short-term or hardship contracts, could now be forced to scramble for housing at the last second in cities they've never lived in before. That's not just inconvenient, it's borderline reckless. It shows a complete misunderstanding of how unpredictable a player's career can be, especially in a league where roster movements happen constantly. Fans were quick to point out that even the G League, where players make far less money, still provides housing or at least a stipend. So why would a league trying to grow its reputation suddenly strip away a basic benefit? The decision feels completely backwards. It overshadows all the good things the league is offering financially. Instead of talking about how exciting these new salaries are, everyone is focused on the takeaways. The things being removed, the support players are losing, and the new challenges they might face. And then there's the issue of revenue sharing. For years, players only received a portion of league revenue if certain financial targets were met. Targets that were often unrealistic. If the league didn't hit those numbers, the players got nothing. And we saw how easily those targets could be derailed during the pandemic. The new proposal claims to fix that. Now the salary cap would grow automatically with team and league revenue, without the old barriers in place. On paper, this sounds like a huge win for the players. But even this positive development is being drowned out by everything else. It's hard to celebrate revenue sharing when the league is making decisions that directly hurt the day-to-day lives of its athletes. And that brings us to another major problem. The proposal to start the season earlier. This isn't a small adjustment. This change would shift the entire league calendar, pushing training camp into mid-March. That directly overlaps with the NCAA tournament, which is one of the biggest events in women's basketball. Not only does this create chaos for incoming rookies, but it also clashes with the schedules of two fast-growing off-season leagues, Project B and Unrivaled, where many WNBA stars are currently earning life-changing money. So now players are being cornered. They're being pushed to choose between their WNBA commitments and the significant income they earn from off-season leagues. The league claims the schedule change is to grow the game, but from the outside, it looks like a direct attempt to pull players away from other opportunities. And here's the part that makes it even worse. The WNBA isn't offering fully guaranteed year-round financial security to replace the income players would lose from off-season leagues. Instead, they're attempting to force loyalty by creating scheduling conflicts. This kind of strategy isn't just risky, it's disrespectful. It shows a lack of understanding of how hard players work to build financial stability. Many players rely heavily on overseas income or off-season leagues to support themselves. Forcing them to give that up without proper compensation feels unfair and controlling. The combination of these decisions, removing housing and pushing for an earlier season, has created one of the biggest trust issues between players and the league in recent memory. And the scariest part is that these are just the surface issues. There are deeper problems coming up in Part 3. As the drama continues, one issue stands out more than anything else: the removal of guaranteed league-funded practice facilities. For years, WNBA players fought for a basic standard, a safe place to train, recover, and prepare during the season. This wasn't a luxury. It was something every serious professional league provides. When the WNBA finally offered dedicated practice facilities last year, players celebrated it as a step toward respect. But now, without warning, the new proposal removes them completely. Instead of offering a stable facility, the league suggests each team can decide for itself where to send players. This means players could end up practicing in gyms that are not consistent, not properly equipped, or not safe. Some could be forced to train in shared spaces where other teams or groups use the same floor. To many players, this feels like a step backwards, not progress. And this is what fuels their frustration. The WNBA talks about growth, higher salaries, and a better future, but then makes decisions that take away the very things athletes depend on every day. Players aren't just angry about the removal of facilities, they're angry about what it symbolizes. It shows a lack of understanding of what professional athletes actually need. It shows that the league is making decisions from a business perspective without considering the real human impact. Then comes the most complicated part: how the WNBA wants to control off-season play. The league says they want players healthy, rested, and available for the full WNBA season. It sounds reasonable, but the way they're going about it is causing major backlash. Because instead of supporting players financially so they don't need off-season leagues, they're trying to limit their choices. They want to block players from participating in Project B and Unrivaled by creating schedule conflicts and new restrictions. This doesn't protect players, it traps them. Many athletes make more money in these off-season leagues than they make in the WNBA. Some earn six figures in just a few months. So when the WNBA tries to stop them from participating, it feels like the league is trying to control their income, not protect their health. Players quickly notice the pattern. The WNBA wants loyalty, but isn't offering the security needed to earn that loyalty. It's like telling players, "We want you full-time, but we won't fully take care of you." That message rubbed players the wrong way. And then something even more shocking happened. Something that proved there was tension behind the scenes. The WNBA didn't invite a representative from Project B to discuss scheduling or logistics. This left many athletes feeling like a major part of their current basketball lives was being ignored entirely. And if there was one moment that made players feel disrespected, this was it. Because the league was making huge decisions without asking the people who would be affected the most: the players themselves. Behind closed doors, frustration spread quickly. Players talked about how they felt unheard. They talked about the league making promises it couldn't keep. They questioned whether the WNBA was truly acting in their best interests. To understand why this moment is so intense, you have to look at the bigger picture. Players have more power than ever before. Off-season leagues like Project B have given athletes freedom. For the first time, they have options. They can choose where to play, where to earn money, and how to manage their careers. The WNBA used to be the only major league available. That's no longer the case. So when the WNBA tries to push players back into its system without offering real security, it doesn't just look bad, it looks desperate. The athletes know their value. They know the world is finally watching. They know that the future of women's basketball is bigger than one league. That's why the frustration is so explosive right now. The WNBA is trying to protect its future, but in doing so, it risks losing the trust of the very players who built that future. And as we move into Part 4, things are about to get even more intense, because that's where the stars, the agents, and the rival leagues step in. As the situation grows more complicated, the biggest names in women's basketball are starting to speak up, and not quietly. Their voices carry weight, because these are the players who pull in fans, ratings, and sponsorships. And when players at the top begin to question the league, it sends a powerful message. Something is very wrong. The heart of the issue comes down to two things: money and control. Money. Who really benefits? For years, WNBA players accepted low salaries because they had no choice. The league was the only major professional option in the United States. Off-season play overseas was their escape, the only way to earn serious money. But everything changed when new leagues like Project B and Unrivaled entered the picture. Suddenly, Players could earn more in a few months than they made in an entire WNBA season. Some athletes were being offered life-changing deals. So when the WNBA now tries to limit off-season basketball, it feels like the league is asking players to give up opportunities that transform their lives. And the stars aren't willing to do that. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, and others know their value. They know they bring millions of viewers. They understand that their presence alone increases revenue. They are not simply players anymore. They are brands, and brands don't accept restrictions without compensation. Control. Who gets to decide the future? Project B is changing the power balance. For the first time ever, the WNBA is not the center of the women's basketball world. That scares people in leadership. Because if players start making most of their money outside the WNBA, if they become bigger stars in off-season leagues, if they receive more freedom elsewhere, then the WNBA loses its leverage. The league wants to protect itself, but the way it's doing it feels like an attempt to pull back control rather than support players. And the stars can see that. They know that Project B isn't just a side league. It's a direct competitor, offering better pay, international opportunities, and a schedule designed around players' health. So when the WNBA refuses to collaborate with Project B, many players read that as fear, not strategy. Agents step in, and the pressure intensifies. Player agents, whose job is to secure the best deals, are also entering the fight. They understand the value of off-season leagues and see them as the future of player earnings. Behind the scenes, agents are telling players, don't sign anything that limits your freedom. Don't agree to rules that reduce earning opportunities. Don't accept terms that give the league more control than necessary. Agents know that if their clients lose off-season income, they lose income too. So they're pushing back hard. Some agents are even advising their players to consider skipping parts of the WNBA season if the league becomes too restrictive. That possibility alone puts the league in a dangerous position. A growing divide. WNBA versus Project B. Project B is not backing down. With its massive funding, global reach, and celebrity involvement, the league knows it can offer something new and exciting, something the WNBA can't match at the moment. And here's the key difference. Project B is built around the players. It lets them travel, learn, and grow. It gives them real money. It doesn't force them into impossible schedules. Meanwhile, players feel the WNBA is trying to maintain control, without truly improving conditions. This clash is why you're seeing so much tension now. The athletes are stuck in the middle, trying to protect their careers, while two powerful organizations fight for influence. The stars make it public. It's rare for athletes to publicly criticize their own league. But now several are doing exactly that, because they feel their voices aren't being heard privately. They're speaking about unfair scheduling, unsafe practice situations, lack of communication, pressure to give up outside earnings, decisions made without consulting players. And they're doing it boldly because they know fans are watching. And they know Project B gives them options. The future is no longer one-sided. Players finally understand that they have leverage. The basketball world is expanding, and they no longer have to accept whatever the WNBA chooses to offer. The old system, where the league had total control, is breaking apart. The stars are pushing for change not because they want to leave the WNBA, but because they want the WNBA to respect them, value their time, and treat them like the professionals they are. As we move into Part 5, the final section, things get even more dramatic, because this is where the tension turns into a full-blown showdown that could reshape women's basketball forever. Everything we've talked about so far leads to one major question. Is women's basketball on the edge of the biggest change in its history? The answer is starting to look like yes. Project B is no longer just a rumor or a side project. It has grown into a massive international movement with powerful investors, global locations, smart scheduling, and star players quietly joining behind the scenes. And now, the pressure it is placing on the WNBA is impossible to ignore. Players are beginning to take control. For years, athletes had limited choices. But now, for the first time, they have real power. Project B offers something they have never had before. Freedom, financial security, worldwide exposure, a balanced schedule, safer travel, and better facilities. When players realize they don't have to feel exhausted or underpaid anymore, something changes inside them. They start asking tough questions. They stop accepting excuses. They begin thinking like professionals whose time and talent matter. This shift is creating a new era where athletes are no longer afraid to push back. The WNBA faces its biggest challenge. The WNBA now stands at a crossroads. If it refuses to adapt, it risks losing not only players but also fans, sponsors, and global relevance. The league must confront the reality that fans want more games, players want better pay, audiences want better broadcasting, athletes want more respect and involvement in decisions. Players have already started comparing the opportunities between the two leagues. And the contrast is huge. Project B is offering freedom and fortune. The WNBA is offering restrictions and consequences. If the league wants to stay strong, it will need to rethink its approach. That means real dialogue with players, real changes to salary structures, real improvements in travel, and real investment in the future. The power of global attention. Another reason Project B is so disruptive is that it isn't limited to one country. It's spread across multiple continents, giving athletes international fame. A player can gain fans from Asia, Europe, South America, and North America all in one season. This worldwide visibility is something the WNBA has never been able to provide at this scale. And major brands are watching closely. Companies love international exposure. They love athletes who can reach multiple markets at once. This could bring new sponsorships, new partnerships, and more opportunities for players. Project B understands this, and the WNBA will be forced to compete. The fear behind the silence. There's a reason certain executives, agents, and insiders are being vague, cautious, or confusing when Project B is mentioned. Everyone knows that once a league with enormous funding and global support enters the picture, the balance of power changes instantly. Some people fear losing control. Some fear losing influence. Some fear losing money. Some fear losing their jobs. That's why the stories coming from insiders keep contradicting one another. That's why certain big names deny their involvement, even when evidence suggests otherwise. They want to manage the story before the full truth becomes public. Players know the truth will come out. The most fascinating part is that many athletes already know what's happening behind closed doors. They have seen contracts. They have talked to executives. They have heard promises of money, travel, and long-term security. Some are already preparing for the shift. Some are negotiating carefully. Some are staying quiet to avoid drama. And some are ready to walk away from old systems entirely. This is why the entire basketball world is watching closely. Everyone feels that something historic is coming. The real question now, the question is no longer, is Project B real? We know it is. The real question is, how much will it change the game? Because whether people like it or not, Project B has already forced the WNBA, and every other league, to rethink the way they treat players. It has inspired athletes to demand better. It has pushed fans to pay attention. And it has made the entire sports industry realize that women's basketball is not just growing, it is exploding. A new era is beginning. No matter what happens in the next months, one thing is clear. Women's basketball will never go back to the way it used to be. The players are stronger. The leagues are smarter. The money is bigger. The demand is global. Project B is not just a league. It is a spark that has set off a revolution. And every move from this point forward will shape the future of the sport for generations.